morning calm of a Memorial Day in St. Louis, USA, is shattered as firefighters respond to what they assume will be a routine blaze at a trailer storage yard. Local news cameraman Bill McCormick gets the call minutes later.
I started heading down there thinking this will be a 2 or 3 minute shoot. Get it back for the cut-in 20 minutes. I'll be drinking coffee.
Little do Bill and the firefighters realize how long and dangerous the day will become. A fire in a trailer is throwing out a shower of phosphorescent white sparks. They recognize immediately the fire is fueled by magnesium, an extremely dangerous combustible metal. Because magnesium reacts violently with water, firefighters would normally smother it with a dry chemical compound. But the truck is too hot to enter. To keep the fire from spreading, firefighters have little choice but to use water. They know it's a calculated risk. When the stream hits the magnesium, the fire flares up. But even firefighters are surprised by what happens next. The explosion is caused by a chemical reaction. Magnesium breaks the water down into oxygen and hydrogen gases. A highly dangerous hydrogen ignites and detonates. Water also spreads the fire. Pyrotechnic expert Ira Katz demonstrates.
When magnesium is burning, it burns steady in one place. When you pour water on it, you actually use the water as a vehicle to carry the flames elsewhere, or certainly the entire surrounding area.
Burning magnesium also releases toxic smoke.
I want everybody to have that.
Cameraman Bill McCormack now feels the first tinge of fear.
You know, we've shot in smoke before and they've never moved us out, but there was one captain who was just screamed, you know, get out of the smoke.
Despite firefighters' efforts, the flames fed by the explosions are spreading. Because of the potential danger, St. Louis Fire Chief Neil Svetanics arrives to oversee the operation.
The fact was that there were a number of trailers, 7 or 8 trailers, and they were right up next to each other. The fire was extending to trailers on both sides.
Firefighters try to keep their spray away from the magnesium, but the burning metal is so hot it melts through the trailer floor and is dropping into the pools of water below, setting off even more explosions. Chief Svetanics is worried. If he turns off the water, the explosions will stop. But without water, the fire will grow unabated, and an entire street could go up in smoke. He has no choice but to continue using water on the growing fire, being fed by explosions of magnesium. Now he will try to use enough to drown the magnesium fire in a massive wash, as much water as the city of St. Louis can provide. If it doesn't work, more and larger explosions are sure to follow as the magnesium reacts to the water. The chief orders the evacuation of the neighborhood.
Yeah, make sure all the houses are evacuated on Prescott and on Clarence.
13 elevated master water streams are set up. At the fire chief's signal, they flood the scene with more than 10,000 gallons per minute. But the magnesium fire is not extinguished. Instead, Svetanics watches helplessly as larger and more violent explosions puncture the air.
The explosions were brilliant flashes, tremendous fireballs, 100, 200 feet in diameter.
News cameraman Bill McCormick records the mayhem.
The explosions that scared you were the ones that you didn't expect. So I've been doing this 7 years, and I've done a lot of fires, covered a lot of police stories, and I have never been as scared as I was on Memorial Day.
Yeah, we've had a major explosion, and we're getting more water on it, and with the defensive stance.
Spatanik knows things may get even worse before this is over. Out of fear for their lives, he orders his firefighters to take cover.
Move everybody back.
They leave the master streams running by themselves. And then this.
It was just the largest explosion any of us had ever seen. I swear I could feel the heat, on my face, and I swear I could feel the shock, hit your body.
Burning debris rains down over several square blocks. Suddenly, another massive blast erupts. It's the last dying gasp of magnesium. Once the explosions have stopped, the fire is easy to control. Tons of sand are quickly dumped on the smoldering remains to stop any further explosions.
We're going to have a helicopter leaving there shortly, the one that's overhead.
It didn't go the way the fire chief had hoped, but after 7 hours and 25 explosions, he considers himself lucky.
When you walk away from a fire like this with no loss of life, and the fire hasn't extended out of the yard, and nobody's house was burnt down, and you didn't lose any fire trucks, you went back to the engine house with the same number of firemen you left with, that's a key to success.
Investigators determined that the cause of the fire was a rare combination of factors. Although the magnesium was stored in metal barrels, humidity evidently intruded and ignited the unstable metal. The explosive fire is ruled an accident. The incredible events of that Memorial Day and the mighty blast that rocked the city of St. Louis remind us that fire can be more of a complex enemy than we sometimes think. After the break, ominous thunderclouds threaten a trapped boy in a flood zone, and a dust storm creates a massive collision on a Californian highway. A storm brewing over a small town in the Texas Hill Country triggers a life and death race against time. Downstream at the bottom of a riverbed, 13-year-old William Burnett is trapped, his leg pinned in a narrow hole. The area is already on alert for a possible flash flood. If the rain comes, William could drown, and rescuers may be forced to take drastic measures. In the rural community of Jalotes, just outside San Antonio, rivers like these can be an irresistible lure to kids, but beneath these waters lie a hidden danger. A company quarrying for limestone has drilled test holes 7 inches across and 200 feet deep in the riverbed. Rain has now filled it with water, camouflaging the holes that lie underneath. On a Sunday afternoon, while wading in the river, William accidentally steps into one of the holes.
It was like a bathtub. It was siphoning water and just, swirling down. So when William went out there, there was a big whirlpool in the creek.
As William slips, a rock falls into the hole along with his foot, wedging his leg tight. When William's father, Guy Burnett, learns of his son's accident, he knows he needs to get some pumps and drills to the scene.
I just realized we had to stop the water and dig a hole next to him and break him loose.
He calls on a friend, contractor Rick Redout, for help.
Yeah, with jackhammers? Yeah, I can have it down there in a few minutes.
Redout's construction company, with its supply of jackhammers and air compressors, is only 150 yards from the creek.
They'd tried pulling on him, tried, you know, working with his leg, trying everything they could to get him free. And we brought in some rock equipment to bust the rock around his leg to get down and get his leg free.
But it will still be a delicate operation. The clap of thunder in the distance adds to the pressure. Time is critical.
With the flash flood watch still and the thunderheads you could see coming, we knew the water would come up very fast if a good storm broke. There's no doubt he would have drowned.
By nightfall, the rescue effort swings into full force. Neighbors have already pitched in, using a bulldozer to build a 7-foot-high dirt wall around William to hold back the water in the river. They pumped out the remaining water to create a dry area for the rescuers to work. William's been trapped since early afternoon. He's exhausted, scared, and his leg throbs with pain. His mother tries her best to comfort him. With blankets shielding the young boy from flying rock, Redout and Burnett take turns using a jackhammer to break through the hard limestone, but it's a painstaking process.
Jackhammers were the only thing to use. It was the only option available. It was the slowest process, but it was the only safe way to work around William.
The rescuers have no idea what they're up against, how large the rock is that's trapping William's leg, or how stable the ground is in the riverbed. If their jackhammer causes other rocks to break, they could wedge William in even tighter, so they work cautiously. Their plan is to open a hole 2 feet deep next to William's leg, then use smaller hammers to get to the rock trapping him and pull it out. But as the rescuers work, the threat of a heavy downpour increases. Dr. Donald Gordon, the Director of Emergency Medical Services for Bexar County, is called to the scene to monitor William's condition. The temperature is dropping, and there's a risk of hypothermia. While paramedics keep a worried eye on William, the impending storm causes Dr. Gordon great concern.
It was threatening. It was black. It was ominous. It was scary. We didn't know whether the storm was going to hit us or go over us.
At any moment, Dr. Gordon could face one of the most difficult decisions of his career. If the storm hits, he may have to amputate William's leg to save him from drowning.
I felt a great deal of weight on my shoulders, and I was just praying like all get out that we could widen the hole and get him out before I had to make a go or no-go decision. It was a very tense situation.
It's an alternative William's father refuses to consider.
I knew that that was the plan. I did not ever consider that it was going to happen. We'd work double fast or double hard.
As the ordeal stretches into its 7th hour, the pressure continues to mount. But the rescuers must proceed cautiously. If the jackhammer gets too close, it could injure William's leg. Finally, at 1:30 in the morning, the moment they've been waiting for arrives. William is freed. His leg is swollen, but remarkably, William's injuries are only minor.
Not too bad, huh?
You guys did a damn good job. Damn good job.
Excellent.
Very fine.
Rescued from the hole that trapped him, William and the town can at last breathe a sigh of relief.
How do you feel about this?
I feel great. I'm glad he's out.
It was like an adrenaline rush, that he was safe, that it was over, nobody got hurt, and we were tired.
My people stood by him, the whole community stood by him, and it was just a wonderful feeling to get him loose.
I shed a few tears.
Since William's accident, the company that had been quarrying for limestone has filled its well holes with dirt and rock. and cap them with concrete, protecting others from the dangers in the river. William's rescue brought together a community, friends and strangers, who rallied to do what they could to save William from his desperate ordeal and an otherwise uncertain fate. A sudden dust storm blankets a major California highway. In seconds, visibility drops to just a few feet. The blinding sand strikes so quickly, there's no time to slow down. Nearly 200 vehicles collide in a deadly chain reaction. Some crushed and burned beyond recognition. 17 people are killed. It takes just minutes, the worst pileup in American history, and some who survived the accident feel it didn't have to be this terrible. Interstate 5 stretches over 1,000 miles up the west coast of North America, from Mexico to Canada. In California, it's the main artery linking Los Angeles and San Francisco. Here in the San Joaquin Valley, 160 miles north of Los Angeles, a highway rolls over long stretches of desert and agricultural land, much of it unplanted and parched by years of drought. When the wind gusts, the dry soil swirls into clouds of dust. On the 29th of November 1991, high winds, unusual for this time of year, are starting to blow. Doug Davis, his wife Marcia, and their sons are heading north after spending the Thanksgiving holiday in Los Angeles.
I started feeling that, something wasn't right. I was driving along and I thought to myself, man, this is going to be a wicked, wicked ride home.
By the time they reach the San Joaquin Valley, dust is beginning to stir. By noon, the Highway Patrol issues dust warnings, but they have only 3 electronic warning signs over this 100-mile stretch of highway. The Davises don't see any of them.
At times, the visibility was down to where I couldn't quite see that car in front of me just for a split second. I thought that I should find some place to pull off. But, out in the middle of 5, there's nothing.
Suddenly, a surge of dust blinds Doug.
It was like somebody put a blanket over our car. It's like closing your eyes and you cannot see anything. I slammed on my brakes and I said, hold on, I'm sure we're going to hit something.
They slam into the back of a car that has stopped in front of them.
We hit once, and then 3 just right behind us plowed into us, and then somehow we ended up in the center divide.
Dozens of motorists enter the dust cloud, many still speeding dangerously fast. At just 30 miles per hour, a car needs 44 feet to stop, and visibility is now less than 10 feet. Many drivers have no chance. More than 100 vehicles crash into each other, some exploding on impact.
When it's happening, it seems like slow motion. We just kept hearing crashes, and every now and then the wind would die down for just a second and you would get glimpses of other destruction around you.
The collisions happen in clusters over a 20-minute period. Although the Davis' car is severely damaged, no one in their family is injured. Others aren't as lucky. Nearby, 30 vehicles pile into one another. 10 of the fatalities happen here.
I guess the hardest part about it was just not knowing what the heck had happened and not knowing really what was happening, because it was still dusty.
In this home video, motorists and police battle the biting wind and dirt to help an injured passenger. Highway Patrol pilot Mike Brown and paramedic Kelly Bide were the first to arrive at the pileup.
I've been flying in this area for over 10 years and had never encountered the amount of dust that was blowing around.
As we circled around, we actually didn't see any real vehicle accidents until we started to land, and you could see beneath the main cloud, big rigs on fire and other cars that were involved.
The devastation is worse than they'd imagined. The interstate is littered with twisted wreckage. It looks like a war zone. Nearly 200 vehicles are damaged or destroyed. In addition to the 17 dead, 150 people are injured.
I'm sure it affected me. I don't think I ever expected to encounter an incident of this magnitude. You just have to set in your mind, well, we've got a real mess on our hands, and you take things one step at a time.
As rescue teams search through the debris for survivors, many wonder how such a catastrophe could have been prevented. Marsha Davis believes the Highway Patrol should have responded sooner.
This was not something that just happened instantly like an earthquake. This was a gradual thing, and it was getting bad enough that I really think that the Highway Patrol should have closed down those roads until the driving was safe.
The California Highway Patrol says rapidly changing wind conditions make it impossible to predict where dust storms will hit. But a month later, when similar conditions arise, the Highway Patrol doesn't take any chances.
Road control's down to 119 right now. The visibility's down to 0. You can't get through.
Today, the Department of Transportation has 18 electronic warning signs posted along this stretch of highway instead of 3. Officers in the field can radio in to program the signs as soon as they see the dust stirring. It's the heaviest concentration of these signs in the western United States and one of the most efficient warning systems in the world. In the end, the tragedy on Interstate 5 can be blamed on both the wind and a sign system that at the time was no match for a massive sandstorm. But more signs are not a guarantee of safety. All the warnings in the world can never replace the caution that drivers need when a sandstorm strikes without warning.
And next week's What Went Wrong is at the later time of 8:30. That's 8:30 next week. And if you hold on just a sec, a very nice man will tell you what's in it.
A tanker splits in half, pouring its cargo into the ocean, causing Australia's worst oil spill. What went wrong? Next Tuesday at 8:30 on 5.